Now on Queer News Tonight, DJ Barbara Butch faced backlash from conservatives over her LGBTQ plus inclusive act at Paris Olympics 2024 opening ceremony, but remains resolute and carries the Paralympic torch.
Lowe's adjusts LGBTQ inclusivity after pressure from the far-right influencer Robbie Starbuck. The company has ended support for the Pride events and human rights campaign surveys.
Research shows many LGBTQ plus singles near 50 may stay single. Challenges include elder care, housing, and lack of biological family support.
Aetna extends fertility benefits to all policyholders, regardless of sexual identity or partner status, after lawsuit settlement, a major step for inclusive health care.
Pastor Dylan Oz of Steadfast Baptist Church faces backlash for extreme anti-LGBTQ plus remarks, condemning churches that affirm the community and calls for violence against queer individuals. Hello and welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ plus daily evening television news, broadcasting live and available on demand on your favorite streaming channels. We are proud to announce YouTube is recognizing Queer News Tonight, certified by analytics company vidIQ, that we now have more than 9.5 million views, more than 500,000 in just the last 2 months. Thank you so very much. It is Thursday, August 29, 2024. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we are going to tell this evening on a little show called Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ plus evening news show. Whatever happens, unique in LGBTQ plus news, you will see it and hear it.
Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same model of PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ community. Our mission is to support the 11 pillars of our LGBTQ community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of lesbian, trans, Latino, Black, healthcare, seniors, students, faith, social justice, business, and queer culture. Help us support our community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ plus nonprofit media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network. In 2024, our magazine is celebrating 40 years of the LGBTQ plus experience, and our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ plus and the broader community.
And speaking of broader communities, I'm back! Happy Labor Day weekend, everyone. It's been a while since I've been here, but it's Labor Day weekend. Some people decided to start the weekend a little early, so they called me, and I couldn't be more happy to be here with Matthew and Vaughn. Who are they? Well, let's meet them. Up first, Matthew Darren, an accomplished musician, performer, and producer. He was a contestant on season 10 of American Idol, and his company, D-Rock Productions, curates some of South Florida's favorite musical events and concerts. Welcome back, Matthew. And what do we got coming up?
Thank you so much. We got a big event coming up, Pride Fantasia, on Thursday, September 12th, happening at the Manor Complex. We will be raising money for SunServe's youth department for the displaced youth housing and all of their programming. You don't want to miss it. It's going to feature some of our local artists and performers, fine arts as well as performing arts, and also some out-of-town surprise guests. So check out the ticket link is MatthewDarren.com. You can find the information for that there.
Okay, so tell me, who's the surprise guest?
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Clear your schedule for September 12th. Trust me on this. Up next, meet Vaughn Biggs, a trailblazing advocate for health equity and HIV treatment. As community outreach coordinator at Holy Cross Health, he leads initiatives for the LGBTQ plus community and people living with HIV. His roles as vice chair of the Ryan White Part A Planning Council and founding board member of Trans Ed underscore his dedication to inclusivity and systemic change. Known for his powerful speaking in public, Vaughn tirelessly champions the rights of marginalized communities, making him a respected leader in health equity and social justice. Welcome, Vaughn.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here. First time with you.
It is.
And Anchor, I'm excited. So
yeah, not our first time meeting. Not our first time meeting. We go back. We go to events all the time.
Right.
But this is our first time on the table. I am so excited.
Yes.
All right.
And of course, this is tonight's lead anchor, John Hayden. A journalist for 29 years, he is now a senior reporter for Out South Florida. You can follow him on Instagram at John Hayden Journalist for breaking news and live reports from community events. Welcome, John. 29 years. So you started at 1?
I did.
Nice.
And you're my favorite panelist now. Sorry, bud. And speaking of breaking news, I have some off the top of the show. I literally, just before the show, I got off the phone with a member of the Harris for President campaign. And they're going to be doing a stop here this coming weekend with some star power. Legendary actor B.D. Wong will be at the Harris for President campaign event this Saturday at 1 at the Manor, the venue, whatever we decide to call it this week. He has been out stumping for her, showing up at the convention and in other key states like Pennsylvania. Also making the trip to Wilton is Ashley Brundage, the first trans candidate for state representative in the Tampa area and possibly Florida. I haven't had a chance to look. Like I said, I just got off the phone, but it's going to be a really great event. I'm going to be there. It's going to be very exciting. The energy that has just been emanating around the contest for the last few weeks has just been incredible. So come out to the Manor. It's going to be fun. You're going to get fired up, and we can get you registered to vote. We can get you volunteer opportunities to phone bank, knock on doors, fold flyers. If you're not a people-to-people person, there's a role for you. So come on down to the Manor this Saturday at 1 in the afternoon. And the three of us are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community around the world is vast. And here are the bullet points for the queer news for Thursday, August 29th, 2024. And we begin by queering up lesbian culture. DJ Barbara Butch carries the Paralympic torch despite backlash at Paris 2024. DJ and activist Barbara Butch faced severe backlash after her performance at the Paris 2024 Olympic Games opening ceremony. Her act, featuring drag artists and queer performers, was criticized by conservative viewers, including Elon Musk, J.K. Rowling, and Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump, who felt it mocked the depiction of the Last Supper, despite its intended tribute to an ancient Greek festival. The controversy intensified on social media, prompting Butch to file a police report due to violent threats. Undeterred, Butch continues to make a powerful statement. Yesterday, she was honored to carry the Paralympic torch showcasing LGBTQ plus representation at the Games. Addressing the criticism in an interview with France Info, Butch remarked, quote, "I choose not to be afraid to exist in the public space. I know I represent France in the same way as anyone else. Justice will do its job, and then we will tackle the international level," end quote. Her resilience and commitment have made her a symbol of strength and inclusivity all month long at the Paris 2024 Games. And, bravo to her. And I'm so glad that she made a comeback, because, the first games ended a week and a half ago or so. And, and she's back and being a part of this. And so aside from equality, aside from, conservative, bigoted stupidity, which runs rampant, as we saw with the list of names that I gave right there, she's just wonderful. And the Paralympic Games, right. And I think we're going to talk more about this as we go through the show. The Paralympic Games are so important and so inspiring because anytime you're an athlete, right, that you can compete at that level is inspiring. And, there are like the hockey players who get up at 4:00 in the morning and their moms to take them for rink time. The struggle is just as real, if not more so, for people who just basic mobility, getting around is a daily challenge. And so watching the Paralympic Games makes me happy. Knowing that Elon Musk and J.K. Rowling cried a little bit makes me even happier. That's my rant.
I think, our community is really all about inclusion, diversity, and representation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I just think that the Paralympics is a testament to that. It is about inclusion. It is about representation. And so allowing us to see what's going on in the world outside of our own little bubbles and outside of cultural norms is great and wonderful. And starting to create like normalness in everybody's differences is what we should be striving for.
I agree. And the great thing with her is she took adversity and turned it into something more and just keeps moving forward. And that's what we have to keep doing in the community. Just keep moving forward.
And what a name.
I know.
Barbara Butch.
Right.
Fantastic. Well,
Yeah, absolutely. And, just one thing about, being offended about the Last Supper. Let's remember, the Last Supper was not painted in live time.
Right.
There were not seating cards at the table like,
Why'd you
Jesus
get that next to Jesus?
here and Paul here.
Right.
No, it wasn't. It was an artist's interpretation, and this was nothing about it.
Right.
Although I do see the similarities. I can see how some people may think, but it wasn't. But even if it was, it's not a historically accurate and documented piece of painting. Jesus wasn't there, doing selfies like this. You know what I mean? On the thing. So basically, what I'm saying is, get over yourselves.
Oh my gosh. All right, next, let's queer up business. Lowe's is the latest anti-LGBTQ victim as right-wingers claim victory. Lowe's has announced major changes to its LGBTQ inclusivity efforts. Yielding to pressure from far-right conservatives, the retailer will no longer engage in human rights campaign surveys, sponsor pride parades, or maintain separate minority-focused employee resource groups. It will be opting instead for a consolidated group serving all demographics. Despite these shifts, Lowe's maintains a diversity webpage, asserting its commitment to a culture of belonging. The company's statement says, quote, "We're committed to fostering a culture where every member of the Lowe's team truly feels they belong. When associates can be their authentic selves at work, they perform at their best. And when that happens, we all win," end quote. The push for these changes is attributed to Robbie Starbuck, a far-right influencer known for his anti-LGBTQ stance. Starbuck has led similar campaigns against other major companies, including Ford, claiming success through a combination of fear and social media influence. Starbuck bragged on Twitter, quote, "We're now forcing multi-billion dollar organizations to change their policies without even posting just from fear they have of being next to a company that we exposed," end quote. Starbucks' recent social media posts advocate for restrictive measures on pride events and criticize supportive companies as, quote, woke, unquote, fueling further controversy. We did a story the other night on this of where he attacked another company, and I'm amazed that somebody can make so much noise from Twitter that these large organizations are changing. And I understand there's some things that organizations are doing and they have to answer to higher boards, but why did they apply for the HI to begin with if they're not going to stand behind it? That's the part I kind of question. Mm-hmm. It's not a brutal process to go through that. I mean, Holy Cross, we went through that, and it's about looking at policy, procedures, creating inclusivity both for your workforce as well as your clients, your customers, your patients. So I'm kind of baffled as to why these people are really backing down from that now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This the consolidated group, whatever they're looking for, that just reeks of the All Lives Matter movement from 4 or 5 years ago. It's just vile, and it's dark, and it's sad. And this reminds me, this is the opposite of what we saw in the 1990s and the 2000s. I remember the first magazines I had the bravery to go into a store and buy was a copy of The Advocate, right? And the back cover was a bottle of Absolute vodka. And I remember thinking, this is so cool. One, I love vodka. And two, our community is being supported. And, and we saw it, especially when George Bush decided that we needed to change the Constitution because we were such a danger to the country if we got married. And you saw all these major corporations coming out and, they said, we're going to have this and we're going to support pride parades and all this. And we were like, yes, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And to see this story makes me think that light is dimming. And the person dimming it, this has Ron DeSantis's fingerprints all over it. You know, he took on Disney and essentially won. You know, they took over the district. Disney is still there. They are still charging way too much for admission and everything else. But DeSantis got his way. So this is, to me, much broader than just Lowe's. You know, now I'm a Home Depot guy myself, but it also helps that I only live 3 blocks away. But this is a flare going up. This is a warning flare that we need to pay attention to, because this is much bigger than Lowe's or any one particular company. So we must keep our eye on this. And I promise you, here at Happening Out Television and at Out South Florida, we are going to do just that.
Next, let's queer up gay culture. If you are queer, single, and over 50, study shows you will probably stay that way. Aging is one of the unique challenges the LGBTQ plus community faces. If you're single and nearing 50, chances are that you might stay that way. This isn't a prediction, but a probability based on research commissioned by SAGE, an advocacy group for LGBTQ plus elders. Moreover, in 2023, Pew Research Center study shows that about 62% of adult gay men, regardless of age, identify as single. Native Son Now, a nonprofit organization for Black, gay, and queer men, recently shared this finding on Instagram, sparking nearly 400 comments. Reactions were mixed, reflecting the complexities of long-term singlehood within the LGBTQ plus community. LGBTQ plus individuals even foster community and select a chosen family to support them. However, in some aspects of getting older in this mode, aging presents unique challenges. LGBTQ plus elders are 4 times less likely to have children than their straight counterparts, potentially limiting their access to biological family support. SAGE raises concerns about elder care, affordable housing, and financial security as LGBTQ plus people age. Organizations like SAGE and San Francisco's Open House offer supportive programs for queer elders in urban areas, but those outside of those areas may face greater difficulties finding companionship and support. You know, being single isn't terrible, but not having community and not having people, a tribe of people around you, that is definitely a horrible feeling. To feel isolated or left out or neglected. And I think that the main concern is that at some point we're all going to need to depend on somebody else. And age is just one of those things that is common for each one of us. And at some point we're going to be dependent on those around us. And so hopefully we have the right amount of community around us. But what do we do for people who don't live in our beautiful community here in Fort Lauderdale and Wilton Manors? You know, like you live in, I don't want to say bumfuck because I don't know if that's allowed, but
sure it is.
You know, like you live out in the middle of nowhere and gay culture is not there or not supportive. What do those people do? So I think it is our responsibility as a culture, and thank you SAGE and all of the other organizations who are making efforts to make these changes, but it's our responsibility to look out for both our young people who are coming up in their queerness and our old people who have been holding it down for years.
You know, interesting, I just came back from DC at the Ryan White conference. And hold on to your pearls, because I was taking a workshop on geriatric care. So specifically with people aging with HIV. And they consider geriatric care 50 plus.
I don't.
Right? I don't either.
But
nonetheless, the issues that we have, and it's just the LGBTQ community, is that social aspect, right? We have so many of our people, especially if they are living with HIV, they're kind of isolated. They become isolated. They become depressed. They don't have a social network. They don't feel they can connect to the younger generations. And all I can say is, please get out, because I know I'm at 61 and I'm having a time of my life. So, you know, you can meet anybody out anywhere and have a great time and enjoy being out and being part of a community. And I think that's part of aging, is continuing to build that circle. I see my own mother who lives on the other side of the state, and slowly her friends have passed away, and she's slowly, I'm like, you need to get out, go to the clubhouse and play cards, go play dominoes, go, she used to golf
with you
every day. Right. And so it's a challenge, and it's challenging for anybody aging.
My husband has worked in post-acute senior living, elderly care for years. And one of the things that I always like when I hear him talking about it, he brings up the fact that for a lot of LGBTQ plus people, moving into a community center, elderly care living center, oftentimes brings with it like this sense of having to go back into the closet. Because there's not there, and if you think about it generationally, because of the AIDS pandemic in the 80s and 90s, we lost a generation of LGBTQ plus people who would have already been in elderly care and kind of created a culture. So it's a new venture.
Right.
We have to be attentive to it as time progresses.
Right.
Yeah. And I feel like, and to expound on your point there, there's I'm part of it. There's kind of this gap generation because you're slightly older than I am, but but especially people 65 plus. A lot of them, for better or worse, didn't come out until later in life.
Right.
And they do have kids, and at this point, grandkids, that hopefully many of them will be able to go to. And the generation, the one behind you, the Gen Zers and the Gen Alphas, are growing up in a world of marriage equality, and the idea of queer people having kids isn't a foreign idea to them at all.
Right.
But then you've got my generation that, to a certain extent, that we just missed the AIDS pandemic of the 80s and the 90s, but we didn't have marriage equality. And I, like you, I am not approaching 50. I am going away from it at this stage in my life. But what do you do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because when you're over 50, when you're in your 20s, oh yeah, we'll hook up, we'll live together, and we'll form our lives, and we're just gonna mesh like that, and it's gonna be great. I'm 52. I welcomed a dog into my home this year, and it was like a major life intrusion. You know what I mean? So it's hard. We're facing a time, and I have no answer.
Yeah.
Just hopefully, plenty of absolute vodka that I referenced in the previous story.
Not to keep talking about my husband, although he is hot. You're welcome.
He really is. He is. Yeah.
He is. But he and his previous partner, they were together for, we'll just say a few years, but for a while. And they actually went to the courthouse in Massachusetts and challenged the court to change the birth certificates for their children so that they could be parent 1 and parent 2 rather than father and mother. When they adopted the sibling set of 3, it said father and mother on the birth certificates, and they said only one of you can be listed. But they challenged that. And now, that's no longer a thing that is a challenge for people. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like adopting and two men having children through surrogacy or adoption or whatnot. Like there's just so many different options. So you're right. There is this gap generation in between. So I'm sorry, but you can come to my house.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Do you have vodka?
Yes.
I'm there.
Okay. Next, let's queer up social justice. Aetna expands fertility coverage for all eliminates LGBTQ disparities. Aetna has announced a groundbreaking expansion of its fertility coverage, now extending benefits to all policyholders, regardless of sexual identity or partner status. This policy change comes after a lawsuit settlement earlier this year in which Aetna agreed to eliminate disparities in coverage for intrauterine insemination, IUI, between straight and LGBTQ policyholders. With this move, Aetna becomes the first major national health insurance to provide such inclusive coverage. Kathy Moffat, Aetna's chief medical officer, issued a statement saying, expanding IUI coverage is yet another demonstration of Aetna's commitment to women's health across all communities, including LGBTQ+ and unpartnered people. Kate Steinle of LGBTQ healthcare provider FLOLX praised the decision, noting it reduces out-of-pocket costs and allows more people to build the families they dream of. The lawsuit was initiated by writer Emma Goidel, who along with her partner was required to pay $45,000 before Aetna would provide IUI coverage. Goidel asked in an interview with ABC News last year, quote, "How is it okay to say if you're straight, we'll cover your treatment, but if you're queer, we're going to pay? End quote. Aetna soon committed to removing disparities in fertility treatment coverage and also agreed to reprocess eligible claims within plan limits and set up a $2 million fund to compensate affected class members. The couple who filed the lawsuit has a son, now named Avi. Aetna's policy change is a significant step towards equality in healthcare, ensuring all families have access to fertility treatments. I love this because again, what does it matter if you're straight, queer, gay, and you're adopting children? We see that, and it's just like, and so many people want to have children and can't, and they want to have them biologically. Mm-hmm. And this obviously extends that and hopefully sets the road for other healthcare insurance agencies to do the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was shocked when I found this out. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, I don't work in I don't report the healthcare space, and I'm not looking to have children. So it kind of surprised me. The first time I've ever heard of IUI was 2 weeks ago, because that's the treatment that Minnesota Governor Walz, now the vice presidential candidate for the Democrats, that's the treatment they used to have their 2 kids.
Oh, okay.
Hope and Gus, who we saw at the convention.
Wow.
Oh my God. I love those kids. Mm-hmm. That was just such a great night. But that's what they use. Right. So the idea that we'll pay for heterosexual reproduction, but not queer reproduction is just, it's ugly. Right. It makes me itch in the ugly parts of my body. I mean, it's just a terrible thing. So I'm glad to see Aetna coming along the way, and hopefully, and I haven't done any research to see if others have. I don't know if the Blues or Humana or whoever. I don't know. So I'm not going to condemn all of the other health insurers that are out there, but I'm saying if you're not doing it yet, look at this. Let Aetna be the light to shine forward on this particular issue. Because we all, if you want to be a parent, you should be a parent.
Right.
Up next, let's queer up faith. Texas pastor wants to, quote, put a bullet in the brains of LGBTQ plus pastors. Pastor Dylan Oz of Steadfast Baptist Church in Watauga, Texas, has sparked outrage with his inflammatory remarks against LGBTQ plus individuals. Oz, known for his extremist views, recently condemned Christian churches affirming LGBTQ plus people, whom he calls sodomites and sexual predators. He specifically criticized Pastor Charles Andrew Stanley of North Point Ministries for inviting a married same-sex couple to speak at a conference. Oz said, quote, "These faggots should get a bullet in their brain," end quote. He emphasizes that queer individuals should receive the death penalty rather than be allowed to preach.
And in this conference, he invited 2 sodomites that were married to each other to preach sermons for the conference. And the quote from these 2 sodomites, we're talking about how they're so excited to be able to preach because it's the message that the children need to hear. So they're literally just admitting their heart, like, we're here behind the pulpit so that we could defile children with our message. That's where we've gotten as a nation by being nice to sodomites. First it was they can get married. Then it was they could have all equal rights. Then it was, we could have drag shows out in public. Then it was, we could take children into the drag shows too. Then it was like, we could allow homosexuals to attend church. Then it was, we could now let drag queens attend church. Now there's it's behind the pulpit. Why? Because of nice guys like Andy Stanley that won't say what needs to be said, which is that these should get a bullet in their brain. Right. That they should get the death penalty, not be preaching behind the pulpit. Right. What a nice guy Andy Stanley is. What a nice guy you are for letting children in your congregation be abused by pedophiles. How nice of you, Andy Stanley.
Oz's vile remarks reflect the new independent fundamentalist Baptist movement's extreme stance, which goes beyond mainstream Baptist teachings by advocating for the execution of LGBTQ plus individuals. The Southern Poverty Law Center classifies Oz's church as a hate group because of its dangerous rhetoric. Despite the hateful words, many Christian churches continue to welcome LGBTQ plus individuals, embracing them as part of their mission to spread the gospel and promote inclusivity. Sunshine Cathedral of South Florida is one such queer-friendly church that believes in acceptance. And of course, we are at Sunshine right now. Our studio is on their campus. The sanctuary is behind us, just across the driveway. So there are churches that are out there, but we need to address Pastor Awe. And the sad thing is, he is not an outlier. He may be the more vocal, clearly. He knows how to get clicks, obviously. He knows how to get people's attention. But the people whose attention he gets, he enables people. He comes right out and says, go shoot them. Mm-hmm. Go shoot me. Go shoot Vaughn. Go shoot Darren. Go shoot Faye. He just calls us faggots. He doesn't put a face on it. He doesn't give us a name. John, Vaughn, Matthew, Faye, Al, Steve. He doesn't do that. He doesn't give us any humanity. He tells others to take our humanity away from us. To call him vile would be de rigueur and honestly an understatement. We have to pay attention to him. We don't want to, but we have to pay attention to him because there are many, many more people like him. And they live on your street. They live in your neighborhood. They're in front of you at the cash register at the grocery store. We cannot let this rhetoric go. We must stand up. We must shout and yell and be better than this because he has influence and his ilk have a lot of influence. And they're trying to make their way back into the real halls of power in Washington. So please share this video. Share this vile video with anyone who can stomach it because we must get this story out there.
You know, as a pastor's kid, evangelical pastor growing up, I went to private Christian schools. I went to private Christian college. After graduating, I became a youth director and music minister. I was still very much in the closet trying to deny my sexuality and going through conversion therapy and trying every possible thing that I could to not be gay, to not be me, the way that I was created, beautifully and wonderfully created. It has been a journey to reconcile my faith with my identity. And I've been blessed with having the right people around me. But just so everybody who's watching, I know that when you hear a pastor speak such vile things, because you're not supposed to judge the person next to you, right? But the Bible also says that you judge a tree by its fruit. What fruit did that yield? Nothing but hatred and division and anger on both sides. But we have to remember that there is a community out here. Just like Sunshine Cathedral, there are religions, the religious organizations. People are messy. Institutions are messy. That's just a part of life. So nothing is going to be perfect, but there are organizations and there are people and there are religious leaders and groups that you can be involved in to help figure out how to go on your spiritual journey in a safe and conducive environment. So do not be dismayed by that baloney, but also don't just throw that by the wayside. As John said, that's something that we as a community need to pay attention to because those words are like ammo and they can come at any time and strike anyone at any place. So we need to be ready and vigilant of what's happening in our world around us.
You know, I think what's interesting is, we've heard of other Baptist church in the past that we've had issues with. And I think the one thing we have to recognize is not all of them feel that way. These are these one-off churches that this is happening with. But what I find similar to all of them is, and you saw in the video, where was he reading from? The Old Testament.
Yeah, his thing said KJV only.
Yeah, so it just shows that, I grew up believing, like you, being in a Pentecostal religion, that you believe in the whole Bible. All of it's the truth. You can't just pick part of it and say this is what's real and not. You believe it all or none of it. So I find that these pastors tend to focus on the Old Testament when they're preaching messages like this of hate.
And you think about the canonization of the Bible and how many translations there have been, and even the King James Version, whose name is on that? It's not Jesus, it's not God, it's King James. You know, like there's the Roman Catholic Church had its way with that text. So you go back to like the Dead Sea Scrolls. I remember going and visiting the Dead Sea Scrolls in San Diego when they were on tour, and I just thought, this is so cool. This is such an old artifact with writings of people who were present during the times of Jesus, the stories that I was taught as a kid. And it blew my mind that it's just like telephone. It's playing the game of telephone, right? Things get mistranslated, things get misconstrued. And the reality is, if you look at the Bible as a whole, it speaks on love far more than it speaks on anything else. Then it speaks on money, then it speaks on hate, then it speaks on sexuality, then it speaks on anything. It speaks on love. And that is the epitome of what Christ and God have always been about. God, however you see God, have always been about love, community, inclusion, and support for one another. And so when you have a pastor speaking about another pastor, and saying that this guy is an idiot, that this guy is trying to take advantage of young people by allowing a couple to share love and the Word of God. It is so, and that those people deserve a bullet in their head or the death penalty. That is absolutely disgusting. Like, go back to the fruit on the tree. That man is not yielding anything but vileness. So I'm sorry, get very passionate about stuff like this because it just blows me away that even still today, and that's a young guy. That's a guy my age. And the point that we need to know about that is that young guy was taught that. Talk about teaching children something that is incorrect. He was taught to hate something specifically for a religious purpose that was governed by man, not God.
I'd like to touch on something that you mentioned about the translations. Obviously, the Bible has been translated through hundreds of languages over millennia. You know, and the Old Testament goes back, 4,000 years. So to say that, God's word is, never changing and always the same, that's absolutely not true. To truly interpret the Bible, you have to be a scholar with the time to go back and look at the time period. Because if I say today, oh yeah, I was in New York and it's really cool, that means, oh, I had a fun time and it's a great place to be. If I go to 1880 New York and say, oh yeah, New York was really cool, they're going to think, oh,
it's cold?
I should bring a sweater.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? So even words, the meaning of words change over time, and that's just in one language. So you really need to go all the way back through translations, through each century, how each word is interpreted. And it's not easy. I haven't done it. I don't think anybody here has done it. Maybe nobody in Fort Lauderdale has done it, because it is. It's a scholar's job. But you have to keep in mind that words do change. Meanings change over time. And people...
And culture.
And culture changes.
Culture and context to make so much sense. Hermeneutics, exegesis, these are studies of what the Bible is. Going back to Arabic and Hebrew, if you study those languages and understand exactly what he was saying, John said that there are different words for one single word. We know the word love in the Bible is there so many times, but phileo is there, eros is there. There are all these different types, agape, of love that are descriptive of what type of love in that context is important.
I'm thinking I could be wrong. I don't want to misquote, but I think that is the one word that is used the most. That's the number one word that is like the highest count.
If we're speaking of love as the generic coverall,
I believe it is. Yep.
I thought it was thou.
Thou. Well, thou west.
Oh. Let's go cruising.
All right, next. Shake it off. Next, you are invited to an epic Lisbon and Argentina cruise adventure where you will travel for good. Get ready for an epic adventure with nonprofit Hotspots Happening Out Travel Club. Join the Celebrity Equinox Lisbon to Argentina cruise tour for 23 days of pure excitement. Start in the enchanting streets of Lisbon with guided tours and local delights. Then cruise across the Atlantic to the sun-kissed Canary Islands and feel the pulse of South America as you explore Salvador's vibrant culture and Rio's iconic beaches. Discover Uruguay's charm and Montevideo and end in a spectacular 4-day stay at the heart of Buenos Aires. Every step is packed with breathtaking sights and unforgettable experiences. Reserve your spot now at happeningout.travel. Next, we are so very proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out television studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral's Sunday International Service at 10:30 a.m.
Tonight's broadcast is presented by viewers like you and the generous support by Visit Lauderdale. Everyone under the sun.
That is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ evening news show. In our community, if our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Join the conversation on your favorite streaming platform.
Queer News Tonight is the only LGBTQ plus live digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm John Hayden, and on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters, the anchors, Queer News Tonight, Matthew Darren and Vaughn Biggs, we will see you daily at 8 p.m. To our LGBTQ plus world, have a great Labor Day weekend. Good night.